Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.
And we're quite happy that at last we have the PIB passed, which will bring certainty and clarity to the investment horizon, the oil and gas sector. Because before now, the problem was the uncertainty. People were not clear. We are in the process of changing our laws. And once you are in a process of changing the laws, people want to sit back and see what the complexion of the law is going to be, which direction you are moving to. Because nobody is going to try to invest when you are already in the middle of changing the laws, because things can change on them, which can become negative. So everybody was in that mode for so long. For 20 years we've been in this process. So everybody has been in that mode of let's watch and see what the outcome was going to be. Finally, we came to the end of this, and we're quite pleased that Nigeria finally is the victor. You see, when we are talking about host communities, let us define host community. Host community is any community where oil is found and is being produced. So if we are exploring for oil in the north, what we are doing in effect is to find host communities in the north. Because wherever there is oil in the north, there you have a host community as well. Now, when you talk about frontier exploration, frontier territory is where they have not proven, any place they have not proven to have oil is a frontier territory. The Niger Delta was once frontier. The deep offshore was once frontier. Now it has become a proven territory. So there are a lot of unproven territories in the country. So it is not, when you say frontier, it is not only the north that is frontier. The southwest is frontier, for example. A big part of the southeast is also frontier, like Anambra Basin. The Benue Trough is frontier. And we are talking about the end of the oil age. We are saying we are in the last mile of the oil age. And any oil that is in the ground will be in the ground when that age passes. Coal did not finish in the world before the world moved on. There's a lot of coal in Enugu up till now, but nobody is going there. So what we are trying to say is, why don't we take advantage of all the oil we have now before the age passes? So we want to accelerate exploration activity in all the frontier areas. That is the whole idea. So we are coming up with a fund for that purpose. Now people will say, why don't you allow oil companies to go there and find oil? It is not that easy. If you are saying you want to bring an investor, you must show him some data. You must. You just say, go to that place, I don't have any data, go there. How will any investor come? The dollar, they say, is a coward. The dollar will not go to any place, it's unsure. So you must produce some data. And as a country, we want to have the data to present to potential investors to be able to go there. And it is only the country that can do that. You don't have to get private sector people to go and invest. That's why we are trying to at least give some money get some money from the profits of the business to reinvest in producing more. That is the whole idea. So today you have frontier territory in the north, you have frontier in the south, you have frontier everywhere. Tomorrow you will have host communities in the north as well. So whichever way we go, it is Nigeria that will gain. Let us leave all these regional cleavages, ethnic cleavages. Let us, for once, as Nigerians, think as Nigerians. You are host community today. Tomorrow it can be The next community will be host community when oil is found in that community. So let us know that it can be any of us. Anybody can be host community. What we presented to the National Assembly from the executive was 2.5. And we have presented that draft, and we rely on the wisdom of the National Assembly to pass whatever they wanted to pass. So for me, we thought of it as an executive and we said, look, 2.5 was adequate. Initially, what was passed in the previous effort was 10% of profit. But we said that is tricky. That was very tricky. Because if I say I didn't make profit, then you have nothing. If somebody says 10%, 100% of profit and it didn't make profit, you have nothing. So we felt, look, that is very tricky because we know a lot of companies that have not declared profit since their operations. So if they say 10% of profit, 20% of profit, they might sell you a dummy. So the best thing was, let us make it 2.5% of the operational cost. That is the operational budget of the oil companies. The operational budget of the oil companies this year is $16 billion. 2.5% of that we thought was adequate. But of course, because we know that there are other efforts as well towards the Niger Delta. For example, you have the Niger Delta Development Commission, which is also an effort to develop the area. You know that the Niger Delta is getting 13% derivation, which is also another effort. There's a lot going in there too. So it's okay. This fund will be targeted at developing the host communities, because the problem with the previous efforts was this. If you look at it, the focus on the developmental programs of NDDC could be in the south of the Niger Delta, whereas the problem the oil companies are facing could be in the east. I'm just giving you an example. Yes. So the development, the programs of the NDDC were not focused on the host communities per se. So there were still problems. I mean, in spite of the NDDC, we still had problems. We had the Niger Delta problem still going on at that time. So we now say, look, let us have a fund that is now focused on developing the host community directly where the shoe is pinching, so that at least these people can feel it. So this is added on top of all the other efforts that are going to the Niger Delta. So if you look at the Nigerian oil industry, there are a lot of deductions. You have the deductions for NDDC. You have the deductions for NCDMB local content. You have the deductions for TET fund. You have the deductions for... So by the time you find... Look, there is a lot of upfront deductions. Upfront. Which the oil companies will not charge to their profit. They will charge to their operational cost. So at the end of the day, it is increasing the operational cost. And on top of all these problems, you have the security cost again. So our territory has become one of the most expensive territories to produce oil. So we are saying, look, if you add more to this cost, what you are doing is just cutting your nose to spite your face. Because, okay, you cut it from this side, and you feel it on the other side. You cut it from the operational side, but you will feel it at the end of the profits side. When the profit comes, you will find out that the profit will be small because your operational cost has increased. So now you just have to be careful. So when you say, oh, you want 10% of operational cost, you have 20% of operational cost. It's the same thing. Because you can either take it up front from the operational side, or you wait for the profit side. When the profit is declared, you will still find this money on the other side. But if you have taken all of it on the operational side, then your cost of production will be so high that on the profit side they say, sorry, we have nothing. So this is what we must balance. And as a government, we're looking at this. But unfortunately, people don't understand. You know, people like big numbers. Oh, we need 10%, we need 100%, we need 20%. 20% of what? You can tell you, okay, 20% of profit. We'll give you 20% of profit. And then the companies will tell you, sorry, oh, no profit. So if they say profit, no profit, so let's wait till next year. What are you going to do? You wait till next year. You can wait endlessly, no profit. So that is why we say, okay, let us do the one we are sure of. The one we are sure of is that the companies must operate. And therefore, it is the operational cost we are looking at. So you look at the operational budget of this year. By next year, we all know 2.5%, 3% or 5% of this operational cost is what is going into host communities. Nobody can hide it. It's something that everybody will know, and it's legal. It is not a memorandum of understanding that the company will have a choice or whether they will do or not. This one is law. So I believe that we've got a good deal. But of course, like I said, at the end of the day, the National Assembly will come out with what, in their wisdom, they feel is right. Subsidy issue, well, it is also now part of the PIB that petroleum products will be sold at market prices. So deregulation is now a law that must be obeyed. But I say, look, it is important that we all understand this. I used the expression, cutting your nose to spite your face. This is what also happens with subsidy. As a country, we've been cutting our noses to spite our face in the name of subsidy. Because, okay, the federal government takes money, trillions of naira, to subsidize your consumption of PMS. So at the other end, they don't have any money to develop your country, to do developmental projects, to deploy into developmental projects. So yes, you have burnt the money. It's already burnt in our cars. You want to continue that. And I find this really paradoxical that in Nigeria, we have deregulated all the fuels that are closest to the poor, but we have refused to deregulate the one product that is actually used by the elite. Kerosene has been deregulated, which is what the common man uses mostly to cook. But it's been deregulated because they have no voice. Diesel has been deregulated. This is what the truck drivers used to move the food items from place to place. This is actually what even the big lorries that commute between communities and states use mostly. It's been deregulated. They didn't have a voice. The PMS, which is the preferred fuel of elites like you, who use it to drive your cars, has defied deregulation. Every time you touch it, they say, no. And unfortunately, it is the common man that will go on the street on behalf of the elite to say no. But in the end, deregulation is very good for this country because it will free up a lot of funds. We may not have it on this side, but we'll certainly have it on the other side. You were in this country, I'm sure, during the days of PTF, when President Buhari was head of PTF. Just with a little bit of increase, you saw how much money became available for deployment into development through the PTF across the country. There was no community, no state, no Nigerian that did not feel the impact of PTF at that time. So you can imagine how much will be available to deploy into development. If it happens under the President Buhari's administration, you will see, at least I'm sure, that is one of the most prudent people that has ever been in Nigeria, President of Nigeria. So he will deploy this to development in this country. And that is why it is so important that we all support the removal of subsidy. But we also realize as a government that this will come with some pains. And that's why at this point we are working out some of the palliatives, some of the things to at least assuage the problems, the pains that will come as a result of deregulation. And also we are looking at introducing an alternate fuel for elites like you, so that when you go to the pump, you are not restricted to PMS. You can do PMS, or you can actually buy gas, maybe CNG or LPG, a cheaper form of fuel for your car. So at least that gives you an alternative. But we are working all those details now, and then of course we will roll out very soon.